is coming.
All these voices. All these voices. All these things you can't explain. All these painful memories. They keep haunting you and daunting me. It's just a ghost of you and me. It's just a smoking gasoline. It's just a ghost of you and me. Of you and me. All these whispers. All these
My name is James Hershey.
footsteps in the rain.
Right back.
All these shadows in my mind. With my reflection I can't find. It's just a ghost of you and me. It's just a smoking gasoline. It's just a
I know how to
ghost
do
of
it.
you and me. Of you and me. Don't let 'em take you away. Don't let 'em bring you down inside. It's just the mirrors in your mind. Don't let 'em bring you down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I'm your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. How's everybody's evening tonight? How are you, brother?
I am good. We have a very special guest with us tonight, the host of the Basement Files, Miss Genna Valadez. How you doing, Genna?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We did an episode of the Basement Files with Genna several weeks ago. And ever since then, we've been talking about having her on the show. And we were just trying to decide what we wanted to talk about when she came on the show. Because as much as we like to visit, we kind of like to have a topic as well. Then we got the idea that Genna is really into Wicca. And I don't know a great deal about Wicca. Old boy has a good amount of knowledge on the subject, but I don't. I'm not really into that side of the paranormal that much. So for me, this is going to be a really fun and interesting show because I'm going to get to do one of my favorite things, which is learn something. So I'm excited about that. So Genna, if you will, what I would like to have you do first is just kind of give a basic overview of what Wicca is, your experience in it, and that kind of thing, for those of us that don't really know much about it.
Absolutely. As far as Wicca goes, Wicca is considered a religion. And actually, I don't follow organized religion. I'm more of a spiritual person. So when people ask me, am I a witch? I say yes, because it's a totally different path than an organized religion like Wicca. Although Wicca is a lot less, how do you say, it's more of an earthy kind of feel to it. I got into Wicca and witchcraft and being a witch about the year 2000. I was born and raised Catholic, Roman Catholic. And being that I'm half Native American, I wanted to find and discover the religious side of my mom's heritage. And she didn't have any clue what it was because she was also raised Catholic. So I started dabbling and looking into being a solitary witch and studying some of the history of where it stems from. I found out, ironically, that some of the Catholic religion stuff follows the basis of what Wicca is to people, which is nature and nurturing. And it's funny that they follow the path of Christmas because that's a winter solstice. It's based really basically on that, as well as, you know, your traditional Halloween. Some of them are based on the solstices, like Samhain. Some people like to say Samhain, but it's actually pronounced Samhain. It's more of a freeing experience as far as being one with yourself and one with a greater creator. But that's how I grew to know what my spirituality is, not so much religious. And I know a lot of people want to get that confused or want to have that as the base of something, but if you're one with yourself, and I'm almost 50 years old, so I I learned a lot over the years that I've been studying, and it just comes naturally. It's more of a freeing kind of situation, so much so rather than having somebody tell you to take the blood of Christ or to drink the blood of Christ when you're in a Catholic church, and then you have to kneel and then you have to stand. This is all about nature and about what the Creator gave us in this world, like the earth, the air, the trees for oxygen, the miracles of what truly life holds for us. That's basically what Wicca is.
So, do you follow like the basic tenets of the Wiccan religion, or do you kind of mix it up with other things? Like you were talking about, you have Native American blood. You're half Native American. I'm Cherokee and Blackfoot myself, so I know like a lot about shamanism and that kind of the different religions of the Native Americans. Do you use a little bit of that and a little bit of Wicca and a little bit of this and that and the other thing, and just kind of form your own ideas, or do you just follow the basic tenets of just Wiccanism?
It is now more of a following of the basic Wicca because of it deals with not only nature in itself, but it also deals with astrological stars. And if you're a witch and you're doing spellcraft or any spell dealing with moon phases, it really is important and imperative that you know when the moon is waxing and when it's waning. You have to cleanse your whole entire area. Some of us have altars. Some of us have athames, and we call it the corners of the earth. So it's. I had a lot of people ask me, "Do you dance naked under the moon?" And honestly, yes. You do that because you want to become one with the earth because we're made of the earth. We're not we're not going to take the earth with us. The earth is here for us. And this is where we all started from. When we're barefoot and we're walking out in the sand or on the grass, that's us getting in touch with our roots because that's what we believe, or what I personally believe we stem from. Because when we die, we get buried back into the earth. And it just becomes creation again. Not necessarily a death or an ending, but it's more of a move to different worlds. So I do follow it because I did form my own thought because when you hit a certain age, you feel different about things around you. And it wasn't feeling right, the religion that I was following. That's why I had to question myself and what I was comfortable with. And something inside me gave me that push to find my own center, if that makes sense.
You mentioned spellcraft, and I have some questions about that because I've talked to, I guess you would call them sorcerers, people that say that they deal with demons and that they can cast spells to do this, that, or the other thing. Is there a practical application for spellcraft and Wicca, or is it more of a spiritual, religious kind of experience? In other words, do you cast spells to make things happen for yourself? You see what I'm saying? Do you like cast spells to bring wealth, or cast spells to get revenge on an enemy, or any of those kind of things that some of the darker sorcery people commonly do?
Right, and you're right. That's exactly what it is. It depends on the person that you're with. People dabble in the black arts. People dabble in white witchcraft. Some have a green one. The craft is used by the witch themselves, whether you're a witch, whether you're a warlock or sorcerer. There was a time where I was with a couple of my friends who were also witches, and I was their third. We would go out to cemeteries, because it's sacred ground, and we would dig up the sacred earth, asking permission, of course, and we would take that to go and make our own spellcraft. You can use your spellcraft for positive or negative. There's some that dabble in the dark arts or the dark craft, and that can conjure up really bad things. I was a part of this trio. One of them had so much hate for this one girl that we we had to go to the graveyard to get the cemetery dust because that's what the spell needed. What it was is she got the graveyard dust, and then we had a certain powder that we mixed with it, and we dropped it in front of her walkway so that she would cross it without knowing it because it mixed with the dirt because it was graveyard dirt. And from there, things started to happen to her in a negative way. She lost her job. She got a divorce. One of her kids got sick. So it depends on how it's used. And I guarantee, because it bit me in the ass afterwards, it does come back 3 times fold. You know, whatever you put out into the world, it comes back to you 3 times harder. And it did. Everything in my life went wrong. I was suicidal. I got heavy into drugs. It was not a good time. And I realized that there's always a consequence to whatever action you take. But now my craft is for healing and for spiritual healing and for good. If people want health issues solved, I'll give them remedies because I'm all about holistic healing. I don't like medicines. I don't like doctors. I believe that the Creator gave us everything we need in this earth, and that is enough to keep us alive and safe. In biblical times, people lived to be over 200, so something went wrong along the lines when we're only living to like maybe 50 or 30 on medicinal purposes and medication and all that. So it just depends on the person. But I learned a really, really big lesson, and you just got to be careful. People do use incantations to conjure up demons. The Book of the Necronomicon, or the Book of the Dead, they have. I have a spellcraft for that particular, which gives you a list of about, I think it was about 100 and something demons who are all lower level. You can conjure and pull certain demons to do your bidding, but it's going to cost you a lot more than what you think it's going to cost you. So if you're going to dabble in that, I'd really be careful with it.
Well, one thing I'm going to say is what people need to realize is if you're messing with black magic, you're not considered Wiccan. You're considered more into paganism and Luciferianism. So there is a difference. And then when you do what people need to do, if you do harm to people, it's going to be sevenfold back. So you're going to get your karma, trust me. And trust me, coming from somebody who dabbled in that stuff 10, 15, 11 years ago, I got my just reserves on that one. But you shouldn't really mess around with the dark side. And if you do, well, there's a reason you're doing it. What's not to be, when you want to put a spell on somebody, you're doing it for revenge, and you can do harm to people. Trust me, you could kill them. You could have problems in your life, and you could cost that, but you're going to get something in return sevenfold. Your life's going to fall apart, like she was saying. Stuff in my life started falling apart. Divorce, got into drinking. Crazy stuff was happening to me just like her. So I know what she's talking about on that part. I can totally agree with you on that.
And actually, my great grandfather and my grandfather on the reservation in Arizona, they were shaman, and people did go up to them. And I did learn a little from my mom because she always hung out with her grandfather. And he used animals, amazingly. Animals have healing powers that a lot of people didn't realize or didn't know. He had a couple of dogs who would lick my sister because she was so sick and so ill. But after they licked it, it was like they cleansed her or something. She was able to not get sick anymore. And the same thing on the Hispanic part of me. We have a lot of curanderas out there, which are healers. And when I was a baby, they have this thing called mal ojo, which is the evil eye. What it is that when somebody sees a baby and they want to touch them, but they don't, but they just keep staring at them, it gets them sick. That's what happened to me a lot when I was a kid, when I was a baby. I would always get sick. They'd take me to the hospital. Doctors couldn't figure out what's going on. My aunt, who was a curandera, she would rub the egg on me, and she would crack it and found out that somebody was giving me the evil eye. So every time my parents would catch somebody staring at me, they would tell her, "Oh, no, go hold her, shake her hand or do something," because they didn't want me to get sick, because I would get sick. And what's funny is that people think it's an old folk tale, but in reality, I still, to this day, get the evil eye. I still get sick when people stare at me. So I have to be the initiative to go and shake someone's hand and touch them. Because the eyes are a very strong thing.
You see, most people would scoff and laugh at these kind of conversations, especially like a lot of people, a lot of Christians, a lot of people in the church would look at, shamanism. They would look at witchcraft, all that stuff as make believe, that it's garbage, it's not real. And I myself, I'm a very religious person. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus, so that's on the table, so everybody knows where I come from. But I can tell you, growing up in the Native American culture, I have seen things that almost everybody I know in church would not believe is real. I have seen things coming from medicine men at powwows and on the reservation. I've seen things with shamans that would literally turn you white. It's some scary stuff out there. So I say on this show a lot that there are things that go bump in the night. And I honestly believe that. There are a lot of things out there that we just cannot explain. And I agree 100% with something that Genna said earlier of God giving us everything we need to heal our bodies and to have the best, most full life possible right there in nature. A lot of times, a lot of these medicines you take, they just make you sick. And then you got to take another medicine to counteract what that medicine did to you. A great example of this is cancer. If you get cancer and you go to the doctor, they will check you out, test you. They'll say, okay, you got cancer of the lung, you got cancer of the brain, pancreas, whatever. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to pump you full of deadly poison, and we're going to shoot you full of radiation. And the idea here with chemotherapy and radiation therapy is that we are going to try to kill the cancer cells. We're going to poison them and we're going to irradiate them and kill them. And what the hope is that they die before the rest of your cells die. That's why you get really sick when you have chemotherapy and radiation treatments, because basically your cells are dying. It's not just the cancer that gets affected, your healthy cells are destroyed as well. So you just got to hope that you can outlast the cancer. And then what happens is, if you are lucky enough for it to go into remission and go away, there will be some tiny little microscopic remnant of it left, and it will just move somewhere else. And then in 3 to 5 years, you have cancer again. And you go through the process again. And you do this over and over again, basically until you die, until the cancer wins, until they cannot kill the cancer before it kills you. That's the basic process that happens in America and all over the world every time you get cancer. Now, if you take the idea that Genna was talking about of the earth holding everything you need, and you mix that with science, then you get what's going on right now in Canada. They're having studies right now in Canada using the dandelion plant, where they are actually curing cancer, not causing it to go into remission, not causing it to reduce slightly. They are curing people of cancer using dandelion. Now, what dandelion does basically, let me explain real quick what a cell does. If a cell gets sick, it has a couple different options. It can stop itself from multiplying, and it can also commit suicide. Now, what dandelion does is it gives the cell the ability to commit suicide again, because once cancer moves into a cell, it stops it from committing suicide. It's not able to off itself. So it ends up multiplying, and more cancer comes and spreads, and you die. But the dandelion gives your cell back that ability to kill itself again. So basically, I'm not going to go into all of the details on that because this is supposed to be a show about Wicca, but just let me say that with the study of dandelions, they are getting 95% cure rates of 100% cures. 95% of the time, they're completely curing cancer using dandelion. The other 5% of the time, they are curing over 70% of the cancer that is present. And this is for multiple different types of cancer. So, I mean, that's amazing. And that just proves, that's a scientific proof of that mindset that we're talking about here of nature being able to cure you. You know, I'm not saying everything in Wicca is correct. I'm not saying it's not correct. But what I'm saying is that tenet, and that's shared by Wicca, that's shared by the Native Americans, that's shared by the ancient Chinese. A lot of different cultures in the world have believed this. And science is learning that it's absolutely true. You know, some of the best cures are always found deep, like in the rainforest or someplace like that, where they find a new species of plant they didn't know existed. They start testing it and they say, oh my God, this cures this. When scientists have to go into a lab and try to recreate things with all these different chemicals, that's where you get yourself in trouble, because the body is not designed to handle all those chemicals, and it ends up making you sick. So I just wanted to give that example of where science is proving exactly what they're talking about. So Jenna, I'll throw back to you.
And it's true. Being in Wicca, being a witch and using the spellcraft, you're using the herbs from the earth, and that's what we gather to do the spells, because it's very important that it's from the earth, because synthetic medication or synthetic oils damage the body and damage your cells. So I'm all about nature and natural healing. So I don't know, James, you said you were Native American as well. Did you have a shaman grandfather or grandparent?
No, my grandfather was Cherokee, and then I have Blackfoot in my family as well. But I spent a lot of time going to different powwows growing up, and I was lucky enough to be able to spend a lot of time with that side of the family. You know what I mean? And kind of soak up a lot of that knowledge. And I've had the opportunity to be able to sit with shamans and kind of pick their brain, because I've always been this way my whole life. I always love to learn, and I always have a million questions, and I try to wrap my head around a subject and really know everything that I can know about it. And I had that ability when I was growing up, that I got to spend time with a lot of people that had a lot more knowledge than I did. And I was like a sponge. I really soaked up as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I think you guys are different as far as talk shows go, because a lot of people, you at least admit that, like me, I don't think I'm an expert paranormal investigator, researcher. I don't think I'm an expert in witchcraft or Wiccan, because everything, you're still learning. There's so much in this universe that you have to learn. It wouldn't even, I don't think you can even finish learning when you leave this plane of existence, because there's so much out there and so many different ways to reach a point that some people think once they discover something, that's it. It's a done deal. I discovered it. There's no reason for you to go any further. But it's not, because the paranormal field is such a vast field with not only witchcraft or demons and ghosts and UFOs. It's such a huge, wide spectrum that not one, even if you had evidential proof that was shown to your face in front of your eyes, there's always something in the back of someone's mind that say, no, it's fake, it's an app, or, it's not real. And dealing with the healings and nature, I know that there's people out there that will say that that's fake and that it's the devil telling us to tell people this or let them know, especially the really diehard religious people like my sister, who's a Jehovah wannabe. Everything that I try to do for her as far as healing goes, she says that it's all the devil's work. But it's nature, it's natural, and that's the mindset of people today that I've run into. So it's very rare that I meet people with an open mind.
Well, see, a lot of Christians, they get it wrong. The Bible is full of a lot of really cool stuff and a lot of really interesting stuff. But a lot of Christians don't understand what their role is, what their job is on this earth. My job, whether you're right or wrong, okay, let's say this first before I say this. No matter what, whether you're right, whether you're wrong, whether you might be completely off track and sinning like crazy and headed towards hell, okay, doing what you're doing. Or you might not be. That is between you and God. That's got nothing to do with me. My job as a Christian and as a human being is to love you. It doesn't matter whether I agree with you. It doesn't matter whether you hate me. It doesn't matter if you walk up and punch me in the mouth. My job is to love you. That's all my job is. My job is not to judge you. My job is not to criticize you. And my job certainly isn't to make you feel like less of a person. Because we're all sinners. Every single one of us. We're all filthy, dirty, terrible sinners who fall short and are not worthy of heaven. Every single one of us. It's only the blood of Christ that gives us that salvation. You see what I'm saying? As Christians. So
Right.
what most Christians don't realize is they're no better than anybody else. It doesn't matter if you go to church 7 days a week and you pray 100 times a day and you try your very best to be the best person you are. You're no better than that axe murderer getting ready to get lethal injection. Because every sin is the same. We're all sinners. So it doesn't matter. My job as a Christian is to love you as a person. It doesn't matter. You love the sinner. You hate the sin. That's the way it's supposed to be. But see, most Christians don't think like that. They don't actually read the Bible. I can't tell you how many people that go to church and consider themselves Christian and are those, and everybody knows these people. They're like these mega religious people who walk around like they're the best thing on earth, and like, I can't say what doesn't stink, but I'm sure you all know what I'm thinking. Those kind of people, it's amazing how many of those have never actually even read the Bible. You know, they may go to church every week, but they don't even know why they're saved. They don't even know what they're supposed to be doing. Our job is to love. That's it. That's what Jesus said. Love your neighbors, you love yourself, and love God with all your heart and soul. That's all you got to do. That's my whole job. So if more people would actually follow the words of Christ and what he told us to do, and cut out all this nonsense of you're not doing right, you can't marry this person because God says you can't marry that person, all that crap. Who cares? How does that affect me at all? It doesn't. I don't care if gay people get married. I don't care if you want to worship a coffee pot. I really don't care. It's none of my business. My job is to love you regardless. And that's where I think most Christians, probably 99% of Christians, honestly, fall short, is they don't understand why they're here, what they're supposed to be doing. And it's sad because it gives Christ a bad name. When in reality, if people would do what he asked us to do, and that's just love everybody and be good to people, the world would be such a better place, and people would have a correct view of Christianity and what it means. Because it's not supposed to be like it is.
No, not at all. And that's what gives us Christians bad names, because you got people who are saying in the name of, the Lord Jesus that you're going to go to hell, and you scare people away, or they get tired of hearing that, so they just don't care anymore. And that's what's happened in the last 20, 25 years, even longer than that, probably like hundreds of years. But, that's the difference. And me, I wouldn't specify myself as a Christian, but I believe in God. I don't even believe in religion. I believe as long as you believe in God and you have that's what you believe in. And James is a little different. He's a Christian, and the difference is what I've noticed in a lot of Christians is they don't even want to hear anything. Like, you try to tell them, it's right off the bat, you're going to hell. That's evil. It's against God. That's it. What do you think somebody's going to do majority of the time when they hear that? They're going to say, well, go to hell and walk away from you. And it's kind of ridiculous. And it makes, like you said, it makes Christ have and God a bad name, because the first thing, they don't get mad at the person saying anything, they get mad at God. And that's what always ends up happening.
See, God gave us inquisitive minds, and he gave us free will. The reason for that is perfectly summed up by Thomas Jefferson, who said, "Question with boldness, even the very existence of God." You're supposed to be able to question everything. Because if God is real, then you should be able to question everything about it. And it should be able to stand up to that questioning. You should be able to dig deep into research and either prove or disprove it. God's not going to walk away from you because you question him. You should be able to question everything. And that like what Jenna said about having an open mind, that's so important, not only in religion, but in life in general. Because if you don't have an open mind, if you're not willing to listen to other points of view, It doesn't mean you have to believe them. That doesn't mean you have to agree. But at least listen. Let the person tell their side. If you're not willing to listen to somebody else's point of view, how do you ever expect to learn anything? You're never going to have a large amount of knowledge about anything if you're not willing to hear all sides, because that's how you make an informed decision. That's how you learn things, is by taking all these different views and making sense of them in your own mind on tons of different subjects. I think that's where mankind has kind of got lazy. Everybody just wants to be in their own lane and they don't want to learn anything. And it's gotten to the point, honestly, where it's sad because it gets really disrespectful. I may not agree with, like, here's a great example. I may not agree with Satanism, right? We did a show with a actual Satanist from England, and we had him on, and he was kind of expecting, because I'm a Christian, that we were going to go head to head, and it was going to be some kind of fierce debate. So we talked, we did the show. I questioned a lot of different things that he said, not to try to prove him wrong, but to learn more about what he was saying and what his view was. And at the end of the show, and you can ask Old Boy, at the end of the show, he was pleasantly surprised, and he was really happy that he had done the show. That is what we need more of in life in general, and definitely in the paranormal field. There's too much infighting in the paranormal field. There's too many people that think that they're the expert in this and the expert in that. I'm going to tell you guys something. There's no such thing as an expert when it comes to the paranormal, period. I don't care how many years you have in it. You don't know everything. True. And the reason you don't know everything is because the paranormal is a field where we don't know anything almost. We have very little knowledge here. Even if you've studied, and I've studied this stuff for over 30 years. And when I do research, it's a lot more in depth than the average person doing research. I actually go back to the original text. I sit in a library with a dusty book for hours. I am a nerd like that. I like that kind of stuff. I've been doing it almost my entire life. And even I don't know everything about any part of the paranormal, much less all of the paranormal. So when you hear people, whenever I hear somebody say, oh, I'm an expert in this, or I'm an expert in that, right away I think, okay, this guy's never going to progress into knowing anything more than he already knows, because he already believes that he knows it all. And it's impossible to be an expert in a field where you only have maybe 10% of the actual data you need to prove or disprove something. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's true. It's totally true. And totally true. Sorry, guys. That's what the problem is. And, like, you'll see that on some of these shows, like paranormal shows. Oh, he's an expert of paranormal or expert of demonology. They don't know really the tip of the iceberg of what's really out there. Trust me on that. No one really knows. We know a little bit, maybe 10%, if that. We're never going to know. Like you were saying earlier, how, we'll never learn everything. You're right. We're never going to learn anything till we die. Then you'll learn out what the truth is, where you go. That's the only way you're going to find everything out. I don't even think even when you die, you're going to find out everything. So, that's the way I view everything. And saying you're an expert on anything, I kind of question that anyway. Yeah, you can know a lot. If knowledgeable isn't more of they should say knowledgeable more than that. Expert means like you almost know everything about something. And you really don't. There's stuff that we found out that didn't even supposedly exist, like the giant octopus. It was supposed to be a myth, and now they found out it's underwater, 70 feet long. So, people really don't know. We don't even know what's in the ocean. We only know about 5% of the ocean. So that should just show you examples. And he's right. We had a Satanist. When have you ever heard of a show where we have a Levian Satanist actually not fight with two people who believe in God? It actually was really peaceful conversation. It was really weird. We didn't think it was going to go that way, and neither did he. And it actually went totally different because we listened to everybody's point of view.
Which is a good thing, because otherwise we wouldn't be in this field in the first place if we weren't be willing to listen and be open to everything. And I'm like both of you, I love learning, I love reading. And when I get a chance and an opportunity to meet somebody and they want to tell me their story, or they grab me to the side and say, oh my God, this is what happened to me, I'm willing to hear, because they know that I'm not going to judge them and call them crazy and, call cops on them, send them to a mental institution or something. I do question though when I go and interview people when I'm investigating their home or if it's a building that they're being bothered at. I do have to question the basic questions when you go to do a paranormal research on a facility or a person. You have to find out the basics, like if they are on medication, if it's a hallucinogen, because that's also going to play a big part in what they're seeing or what they're hearing. The Wiccan field is not that steady, I guess, as far as, well, like I said, I used to be Catholic. That was a really hard religion to follow because everything you did was a sin. Even drinking coffee was a sin. Like you were saying, we're all sinners, James, but, in the Bible, Christ died for our sins. So when we're born, we're already sinners when we're born. Just being alive, it's just, there's so much hate in this world. And I think if people had that mentality to just love one another, and not judge and not care. If it's not happening to you, if you're not gay and you're not having a gay person come on to you and marry you, then if it's not directly happening to you, then why would it matter at all? Seriously. You have your life to live. I'm a very busy person, and I don't know how people can stand there day in and day out and judge people all day long, and that's like their job is to judge people because they're drinking coffee or because they're talking to a girl who's a lesbian, or they talk to, or they're not lesbian or gay or bi, and they stand up for people who have rights like that. It's such a harsh thing that people forget that your heart is here to love people, not to hate them. We're all related as far as spiritually connecting because we all believe the same. It doesn't matter what path you choose, it's going to lead you to the same place. And I try to tell people that all the time, but they don't get what I say. I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying when I say that. I say that a lot to a lot of religious people, especially my very Christian friend who hates the fact that I love Halloween. But she loves Christmas, and I keep telling her, that's a pagan holiday. And she's like, no, it's not. Christ was born on this day. Thank you. I tell her that all the time. And she's like, no, she's just so headstrong in her beliefs that it was grinded into her. So she just has, her mind's not even open to the things that go on around her. But being that she's Hispanic and she's Christian, every time she cusses, she says, oh, God, please forgive me. And I'm like, really? That's just going to make him forgive you because you cussed? You're going to go drink, you're going to go sleep around with people, then on Sunday you're going to go to church, you're going to cry and say, please forgive me. Then the next week you're going to go do it again because he forgave you and he washed away all your sins because you took the blood of Christ or something, It became a repetitious thing that it's instant in her head. And she's so closed off that it's scary that there's people like that around here that haven't seen or haven't been through some kind of traumatic issue to make you realize that there's something more out there. And I've been having things since I was a child. I was seeing things. I was talking to imaginary friends. And then I realized I was extremely sensitive when I was little. And as an adult, it was more formed into me controlling what I see and what I hear. And this is why the paranormal field was something that I jumped into because I was learning what in actuality was going on. I wasn't a mental case. I wasn't abused. My parents loved me. I was a very spoiled baby of the family. So I had no bad issues or traumatic issues when I was little to make me see demons or ghosts or have feelings of someone around me because that was instinctual. And I think in part it's because my grandparents, my grandfather on my mom's side and his dad, my great-grandfather, were shamans. That connection that they had to the spirit world was so strong that it passes through to generation to generation. So I always tell people, I'm 47, and I always tell people I've been in the paranormal field since before I was born because my mom would hear a baby cry, and then my grandmother would tell her on the reservation, are you sure you're not pregnant? And she's like, no, I'm not pregnant because apparently my dad couldn't have children. So it was a long-running joke that I was a milkman's daughter, but it's not true. My mom found out that she was pregnant with me a couple of days later, and my grandmother told her, you see, Your daughter's already communicating to you from the other side, so she's going to be very special.
That's pretty amazing. That's really great. That's crazy.
It's funny because all the skeptics always tell you this doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. It's funny because I've had them say it to me. They'll say, oh, that doesn't exist. And I'm like, well, but I've seen it. No, but it doesn't exist. But no, you're not listening to me. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it. It's right there. Look at it. It's right there. Well, no, it doesn't exist. But you're not looking. It's right there. You know what I mean? It drives me crazy. Like, and that's one problem I have with some scientists, because scientists are the quote-unquote experts that always tell you something doesn't exist. And like Old Boy said earlier, the giant squid didn't exist. It was something out of myth until they found them. You know, the silverback gorilla didn't exist. It was something out of myth until they found him in the Congo. The coelacanth was extinct millions of years ago, did not exist anymore until one washed up on the coast of Madagascar. Mermaids, just a myth, don't exist. Well, until they catch one on film. I'm not talking about the silly YouTube video where the fake-looking mermaid scampers back into the water. I'm talking about a deep oil drilling rig where their stationary camera that's down there to watch the pipes and make sure there's no leaks picks up a couple of these things swimming by. I mean, I'm talking an actual bit of footage. And there's so many different things on this earth that they have said don't exist, and then all of a sudden now they do. They never come out and say after that, oh yeah, well, you know, guys, we were kind of wrong. You never hear that. All they do is move on to the next thing, and they say, oh no, that doesn't exist now, you know? And I think we're going to find that with Sasquatch, we're going to find that with Nessie, we're going to find that with a lot of these creatures, that they do undeniably exist.
Well, they already said the Megalodon, they saw a video of the 60-foot shark on that oil rig.
Yeah, that's another great example. The Megalodon shark was supposed to have went extinct millions of years ago. And now they've got video footage of that's probably still out there. I mean, you're talking a shark that's like the size of or a little bit bigger than a school bus. I mean, that's some heavy duty stuff, but it's out there.
Right, and then when you have people that want to question if it's real or not, those are the ones that you have a hard time convincing. The skeptics. The skeptics are the ones that say that doesn't exist. And you, James, I know you told me on my show one time of your incident of dying and then coming back. And you told me the whole process of what happened and what you believed happened. When you told people, I'm sure people didn't believe that didn't happen to you. They probably thought, oh, well, the oxygen to your brain was messing up your visions, and this is what you thought it was. I've had people tell me that when I've had very traumatic things happen to me, and I tried to tell them I know what I saw or I know what I felt, and I know that there is something beyond our own plane, our own existence. But they want to be adamant and saying, no, it was just in your imagination. And I really, 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 that irks me when people tell you that your vision or your experience was not real, especially since they didn't go through it. It just irks me.
It's that armchair quarterback thing. It's the same thing. It's in all parts of our society now, where people will sit back on their couch and they will tell you what your experience in life is. They will tell you what you're supposed to look at. They will tell you what you're supposed to believe. They will tell you what you've been through and what you've felt, even though they have no way of knowing it. Everybody thinks they know everything now, and nobody knows anything. That's the truth of it. You know, it goes back to what I was saying about there not really being experts in this field. I know that's not calling out anybody in this field. That's not trying to throw hate at anybody. I'm just saying that there's so much to learn here. And you never really have all the information because there's so much that nobody knows. And if you have that attitude of, well, I know better than you, then you're not going to learn because you're going to miss something because you're not paying attention. You're not really listening. And that's the problem that we have, I think, in the paranormal field. See, the way I see it, you have two different kinds of people in the paranormal field. You have the researchers. Those are the people that really don't care about being famous or making money or any of that crap. They want to find the answers. So they do the research, they put in the legwork, they actually try to solve things and find the answers. And then you have the people that have gotten into the paranormal field because there's a bunch of television shows on Discovery about it or something like that. And they say, oh, look, everybody's got a ghost show now, or everybody's got a Bigfoot show now, or whatever. So let's get into that because we can make some money doing that. Oh, look, I can do an EVP, all that garbage. And those people, I don't really consider to actually be in the paranormal field. Now, I'm not saying ghost researchers. There's a big difference. I'm saying the people that have come into it just for fame and fortune, that don't really have any real passion for it. They're not actually trying to solve anything or find any answers. They're only here for a check. And as soon as it's not popular anymore, they'll go to the next thing. If knitting becomes super popular on TV, they're all going to be knitters. They're all going to be making you sweaters soon. Those kind of people, you know what I mean? That's the way I see things, is there's those two kinds of people that are in this field. Now, the researchers, the people that are actually in this for the right reasons, they're all going to tell you, yeah, I'm not an expert. I'm doing the best I can. I'm learning. But my God, man, look at all these questions. Every time I find the answer to one question, it leads to 10 more questions that I don't have the answer to that I got to try to find. And that's how research actually works. Every time I research a subject, I go in trying to find the answer to one or two questions. And at the end of it, sometimes I have the answer to one or both of those questions, and sometimes I don't. But every single time, I have 10 or 15 more questions that now I need answers to. And that's the way research actually works. The reason why you have people that claim they're experts and pretend like they know everything about things is because they're not actual researchers. They have no idea that when you look this thing up, it's going to lead to all these different questions because they're not actually looking anything up. They're watching a YouTube video, or they're hitting Wikipedia for 5 seconds, or watching a ghost show on television to get the lingo, and now they're ghost hunters. You see what I'm saying? Those, I think, are the two different kinds that we have.
And they're buying ghost hunter equipment off of Amazon. I think that's the biggest joke. I see that all the time. They're buying stuff on Amazon and they think they're experts because they watched a couple shows, and they're all in it for money. And we know a couple people like that. And you know what it is? I do this because I love it. I love paranormal. I love cryptozoology. I love demonology. I love everything. I just can't get enough. And no, I'm no expert. I'm never going to say I am. But I have seen things, and you could call me a liar. When I'll tell you one quick thing, like I told before. I used to live in an apartment with my ex-wife, and she was sound asleep. My kid wasn't even. I think she was at her grandparents' house. I was on the computer, and her Barbie car kept going back and forth in front of me. It wasn't my cat, unless he learned how to drive a Barbie car, and he wasn't even there and disappeared. I've seen that, and I used to not believe in this stuff till I saw that, and I saw other things, trust me. There's no way explaining that. There was no one in the room. That baffled my mind, and I've seen other things since then. And people, oh, you're crazy. Why would I lie? What am I going to get out of it? I've told people I was telling people like in a normal way just to make up a story. I mean, I know people do that. They lie about things, but just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And a lot of people, like James said, they sit on their couch and they tell you what's real and what's not. But half the time they're just unhappy in their own life. So they really just want to be jerks and tell you what's wrong and what's right but they never want to go out and do anything themselves. So that's a lot of it too. And they'll never know. They could doubt whatever they want. They're never going to know the truth.
One thing I'd like to make crystal clear is I'm not saying that we don't want anybody else coming into the paranormal field. For everybody that's new to the paranormal field that's coming in because you're interested in it, welcome. Awesome. If I can be of any assistance to you, answer any of your questions, I'd be more than happy to. And if you find something that I don't know, I would love to hear about it. I love to learn. I'm not saying we don't want people in the paranormal field. What I'm saying is there's too many people that are coming into this just because they think they can make a quick buck. And the problem with that is I don't care if anybody makes money. That's more power to you. God bless you. I hope you make $1 million a day. I hope you're rich beyond your wildest dreams. I don't have any kind of jealousy. I don't have any kind of ill feelings towards you for making money. But what I'm saying is if you're coming into this field thinking that it's all BS and smoke and mirrors and you're just here to make a buck and you're messing with things that you do not understand, you don't understand that a lot of this stuff is real. This isn't just fairy tales. We're not just sitting here talking about a movie that we like. Okay, some of this stuff actually exists. And if you don't have the knowledge and you're messing around with stuff that you have no idea what it can do to you, you're going to get hurt or worse. You know, I see that all the time now in the whole ghost hunting field thing, where everybody wants to mess with demons now. You know, everybody, oh yeah, I'm going to go mess with this demon and I'm going to do this with this demon. People don't understand demons will destroy you. They will destroy you. They will destroy your life. They will destroy your family. It's nothing to play around with. But that's what happens when you have people that come in that don't have that knowledge. And they just start tinkering with stuff and playing around because they think it's a joke. They think it's all fun and games. Some of this stuff is actually real and it can actually kill you. So that's my word, is if you're going to come into this field, welcome. Glad to have you. Please get with somebody who actually knows what the hell they're talking about. Learn from them before you start, as the good old crocodile hunter, who I miss dearly, would say, before you start mucking about, learn what you're doing, because you're going to get hurt. And that's sad, and nobody wants to see that. That's basically where I'm coming from on that. We are almost out of time. So, Jenna, is there any shout-outs or final words that you want to say before we go?
Don't judge a book by its cover. First and foremost, when you're in this field, I wore my pentagram a lot at work, and I had this one guy come up to me who had tattoos all over his face. He goes, "Are you a Satan worshiper?" Because he looked at my pentagram. I looked him straight in the eyes, and I said, yes, I am. So, you know, I will mess with people like that who come up to me and ask me stupid questions like that. If you're not open to everything around you, then you're going to be hit with sarcasm with me. But as far as shout-outs go, I want to shout out to you guys. Congratulations for making Para X and becoming part of our family, because you guys are just too awesome to not let go. I'm so glad that Rebecca and Barbara and Eric actually got you guys on. I highly recommended you. You guys were superb when you were sending me your podcasts and your YouTube videos. Old boy, I thank you for that. And I'm so happy that we've become even a closer family, because we started out as friends, but now that you're part of the Para X family, I now consider you my family. So you're like my two little brothers that I've never had. And thank you guys for having me on the show, and much success to you and all your endeavors in the future.
Yeah, I want to thank Jenna for coming on. Yeah, you're awesome. Your family. Thank you, the Para X listeners and the management, for taking us on. You guys, I appreciate all of it. And just thank you guys for listening to us. Demon Hunters, Sugar Ladies, and Misfits. Have a good night.
I'd like to thank Jenna for coming on and for having us on her show. We love you dearly, Miss Jenna. You are awesome. And I'm liking Para X. I think this is kind of a cool little network, you know. I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of the other hosts. I've had the opportunity to talk to a few, but I'm looking forward to meeting the rest of you guys. And to the audience, thank you guys for tuning in. Check out the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. You can listen to all the old Staring into the Abyss shows and all kinds of other cool stuff that's on our channel. And I hope you guys come back next week. We're here every Sunday night at midnight. So until we speak again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. We love you. Bye-bye. I am horror author James Hershey Jr. from the Staring into the Abyss radio show. Check out the book that started it all. What critics called the scariest book of the year. I am Legion. And if you're still breathing, check out the other two books in the series. The Surrogate of Souls and The Rise of the Revenant. These books will scare the hell out of you. That I promise.